Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to Singapore, and warm welcome to all the members and participants of this second edition of the program of what People and Skills program in companies can do in this difficult time. The first edition we had a few weeks ago showed that there is still a big need, great interest for what companies, what managers can do in order to fulfill the needs and survive in these challenging times of COVID. And as we all know, the end might be in sight, but we are not there yet. So the main topic today is how to train people in these difficult times, how to keep people on board, how to keep people updated when it comes to their skills, and how to keep people and employees motivated. Now, I would like to thank Swiss Jam for inviting the panelists that I will introduce in a few moments. And I'm happy that we could gather so many people and create such an interest for this audience. Now, I think I will hand over quickly to Fabienne, Vice Chairman of Swiss Jam and the long-term member of the board of Swiss Jam and a specialist in HR questions herself.
Thank you very much, Manfred. Very much appreciated. Also from my side, a very warm welcome to the panelists as well as to the audience. I'm very proud to be in that group today, and I feel very honored that we could gather so many experts. Even more so, I have just learned that we have around 200 people in that webinar today. It's not just a great achievement, but it shows the interest. I think it shows the demand. I believe that most of the audience most likely is in HR, L&D, OD, and hopes to get some insights, get some best practice from the panel. So I think that is great. I'm happy to share a little details about the award for those who are not familiar. Swiss Jam Singapore has invented the award a couple of years ago for people and skills development, as it is really part of nearly every Swiss company. It's very much in our DNA as Swiss companies to invest heavily in people and skills development. As Singapore, so is Switzerland, we don't have a lot of resources beside our people. So it is of utmost importance that we invest there. The people and skills development over the past year has developed itself. This year, we were very successful. You have here an overview about the process, not going into the details as you can see the deadline is already over, but we are very happy. We got 12 nominations this year, and we will soon start to share the details with our jury out of the diverse people, different areas of academics, business, HR, and so on. And around December, we are going to share this year's winner. You can find more details about the award yourself for next year. So for this year, it's over. But certainly, I can assure you there is a lot of visibility, not only for the winner, but for all participants, as well the chance for peer exchange to honor the efforts your team has done so far. So maybe we can go to the next slide and show some winners from the past. Yeah, so you can see in the past we were able to celebrate during a gala. Hopefully this will change by next year as well. But we had the experience that the award was not only very much appreciated by the different industries, but also by the employees themselves. So having said that, again, I'm very proud to have the panelists here today, and I would like to hand over to Cheng Lien, who is representing Microsoft today, and with that also Skills Future, which is a partner of the award, for the last couple of years. So we have combined forces in order to achieve the goal that people skills development can happen in all companies in Singapore and around. Good, thank you very much. Handing over to you, Cheng Lian, please.
Sorry, I was muted. Hi, everyone. Very good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cheng Lian, and I'm from Microsoft. I'm the Skills Development Advisor responsible for the Microsoft Let's Skill Up program, a Skills Future Queen Bee initiative. A little bit about what I do. I help SMEs to accelerate their skills development by identifying the skills needs, curate the training program they need, and develop learning plan, as well as to facilitate placement for SMEs who has challenges in hiring the right talent, right? So that's who I am. Next. So what is this Microsoft Let's Skill Up program all about? It is a partnership between Skills Futures Singapore and Microsoft. And why the partnership? As more companies embrace tech intensity due to remote work and learning during the pandemic, we quickly learned that not everyone was equipped to accelerate their digital transformation. SMEs were hit harder than most with the challenges to digitally transform. While they understood the need to transform, they didn't always have the resources or capabilities to do it. And they did not know how or where to find talent that suits their business needs. In Microsoft, we knew that this was not a problem we could solve alone. So we worked with SSG to develop the Microsoft Let's Skill Up program to enable future-ready skills and talent for the digital economy. So what programs or what benefits does this program give to SMEs? One of the benefits of this program is that Microsoft will provide advisory and consultation on SME skills development by helping them identify where their skills needs are, curate the training program, and develop learning plan. SMEs can enjoy up to 90% subsidies and funding for curated training program that is supported by SSG. All locally registered or incorporated organizations in Singapore are eligible for course fee and absentee payroll funding when they sponsor their employees who are either Singaporeans or PR for training courses that are funded by SSG. AP funding, which is absentee payroll funding, is a grant to help SMEs defray the manpower cost incurred where they send their employees for training courses that's funded by SSG. So to support these organizations to send more workers for training and to help their workers emerge stronger post-COVID-19, the AP funding was enhanced to 80% of hourly basic salary, but kept at $7.50 per training hour. This enhanced training support package is valid until 31st December 2021. So there'll be revisions, from January 2022 onwards. Participating SMEs will have access to Microsoft learning resources such as LinkedIn and Microsoft Learn. SMEs can enjoy complimentary 90 minutes Skills Future Advice Workshop to help them transition and adopt workplace changes. Now, this workshop is very well received, as a brown bag session and as a lunchtime session for team building. There is also a complimentary assessment of the human capital maturity level by IHRP, Institute of HR Professional. And this is actually worth 1,006. So if you come on board, you can actually, you actually enjoy quite a lot of savings. Now, participants of this program will also have access to job-ready trained local talent from various programs such as SGUS, SG United Mid-Career Pathway, PCP, which is the Professional Conversion Program, and Microsoft Get Ready SG, Train and Hire, as well as Hire and Train program. So start your skills development journey now. If you're interested to find out more about this program, you can visit aka.ms Microsoft-Let's Skill Up to register your interest. Otherwise, you can also scan this QR code and submit your interest form, and I will follow up with you. So I'll give you a little bit more time, for you to scan this QR code. You'll find that there's actually some interesting things coming up next, and that is the first 10 organizations to participate in this Let's Skill Up program will get an exclusive Microsoft wireless charger with USB port. So don't wait, right? Start your skills development journey right now. All right, so with this, I'd like to end my presentation and I will hand over to Fabian. Thank you, Fabian. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, I just wanted to scan it, but can't use that advantage, but I hope that many will sign up. We can also share the slides afterwards with the participants.
Okay, sure.
Thanks a lot. Very interesting. Looking forward to hear more in the next 30 minutes. I'm handing over to Manfred. I believe, Manfred, you're going to introduce all our panelists for today.
Yes, thank you very much, Lian. We learned already about your DNA. I can only add that you have been a teacher in your career before that, so well equipped DNA-wise with developing skills. Now, let's have a look at the DNA of Andreas. Andreas Zink is the COO, Chief Operating Officer of Julius Baer. For the ones who don't know Julius Baer, I mean, everybody knows Julius Baer anyway. So I think it's in Switzerland, it's number 3 when it comes to the ranking of the banks. Now, Andreas, before he was assigned CEO of the company, he was responsible for HR development within the company, so very well equipped as well. And then we have, of course, Mark Chu, who has as well been responsible in HR and organizational development in Fairprice. So we have retail, we have banking, we have Microsoft plus teacher, etc. Very, very interesting panel indeed. Now, I'd like to give the floor to Andreas. Can you quickly give an overview of your activities within Julius Baer when it comes to training people for the skills development?
Yes, thanks, Manfred, and good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be on this panel. At Julius Baer, we have set up, and that was actually done when I was leading HR a while back, we have set up a unit that we call Julius Baer Academy, which basically has the mandate to do the learning and development for our organization. And that has, of course, various elements, and it has evolved over time. I think a couple of things to highlight is the Julius Baer Academy wants to be close to the business. So business proximity is one of the key elements of the DNA of this academy. And you can see this, for instance, in the fact that the head of the Julius Baer Academy is actually a former relationship manager, a former private banker who knows the business from interacting with clients, and then based on this has designed the curriculum for the academy. And on a very high level, of course, I think we have the usual things. We do a lot on leadership development, and we can come back to that in a bit more detail, which has also evolved and moves really to also adapt the leadership approach and the leadership philosophy as also a strong cultural element. And of course, it has the technical curriculums to help junior staff to become bankers, relationship managers, senior relationship managers. That is also linked to CPD hours in Singapore. It has also, of course, a lot of regulatory aspects that need to be trained. And then we also have the talent development programs in the Julius Baer Academy, where we have various programs, the typical apprenticeship program in Switzerland, graduate programs, but also the SG United traineeship was also orchestrated by Julius Baer Academy.
Thank you very much. Over to Mark for the introduction, sort of in Fairprice. What have been the priorities in the last 12 months within Fairprice? I imagine very different setting in a retailer like that.
Yes, so thanks, Manfred. For us here in Fairprice, we typically look at more of the frontline folks because that's the majority of our workforce in retail, in our stores, in our locations as well. So what we typically focus on is about upskilling in terms of digital skill sets for them. So we have like the scan and go at all our stores. You can have the convenience instead of going up to queue up at the cashiers. We have the devices, or you can have the apps you can download using your mobile phones. So staff have to be upskilled and trained in digital skills, which they're not very much used to. And that's something that we focus on quite a fair bit in the last year or so in COVID time to help them understand that, yeah, they are the ones that's going to be helping the customers at the stores, at the shops. They also need to come in to have that convenience mindset in mind, and also how they can support in terms of customer service to the front line, to the customers. Other areas that we also look at as part of CTC, it's about developing digital skill sets, personal skills. Quite a fair bit time and effort is also put around mindfulness, because during COVID, we have different focus in terms of how we work, and the ways of working have changed. It's a hybrid model nowadays. That's also something that we look at, and that really helps them to understand where the burnout rates could be, where you could probably come in to look at having the breaks in between and being assured that the company is there to support you. But at the same time also to know when you need to take the break and not have the burnouts. So there are these different areas that we've been focusing on, and very much different from what we're used to in the earlier days. And that's what we've been keeping busy for ourselves here at Fairprice Group. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I stick with you for a moment, Mark? Before we go into further into the programs to train the people, can I ask you a general question, or a very specific question actually? Within your group, can you share with us what has been the main complaints of your employees in the COVID area? What is the feedback that the HR manager in the company has to keep in mind? How has he been overwhelmed? What kind of questions, what kind of complaints, just to start with?
Yeah, probably top of the mind could be things around managing workloads at the same time in virtual calls and sessions. I think as we go towards the default setting of working from home, that's an entirely different environment of what we're used to, where you can work in office, you have the interaction, it's people close by together in the office versus now everybody's on virtual settings. That kind of makes a big difference in terms of how they manage the time better. There's a very thin line between overworking yourselves and then at the same time taking breaks and having that time to spend with family, spending with your kids and your social activities as well. That's been quite a fair bit of comments or feedback that there is a need to kind of look at how we can really relook at the ways of working, at the same time how we can manage it going forward. What are some interesting new hybrid methods to help us balance work as well as
Andreas, in your company, do people complain sometimes, or is everyone happy?
Of course, everyone is happy. No, but interestingly enough, I think the most frequent complaints, to be honest, were about infrastructure when we sent everybody home last year and the whole thing started. And then I think it's similar to what we heard from Mark, right? Then, of course, you have this increased flexibility, which initially is appreciated, but then it also leads to around this, around the clock availability. And we then started to design some courses, basically online, obviously, to help people, to help the staff to cope with working from home in terms of, practical tips, more on the hard side, hard skill type of things, how to do meetings virtually and so on. but also, to Mark's point, then more on well-being, self-care. You know, we encouraged workout classes. What type of workout can you do at home? We did a bit of role modeling from senior management side, also with, you know, healthy food. So there was a picture of me eating a salad, and all these small things, a little bit, you know, to keep people motivated and entertained. And we also advised all the managers to really reach out and feel the pulse, right? Because obviously we cannot walk around and feel the pulse when you walk on the floor.
Right.
The feedback we got then actually was from some of the people, and also my boss told me this. Many of the employees felt they had more interaction with their bosses in COVID, working from home, than before, because there was extra care from management sides to reach out and feel the pulse and see how it's going.
Interesting. So Lian, you were actually agreeing to that, right? Or did I misinterpret
Yes.
your body language? Is that true? And you noticed the same thing? And if I can add another question just to make it smooth, as I assume 2/3 of our audience is probably small and medium companies. Now, Microsoft is a big company. This is a multinational company. And it's interesting that you shared, you know, the barcode at the end. But the question I'm asking you, within a few sentences, words, what would you recommend small, medium companies when it comes to implementation of training programs? Where should they start with? What should the focus be?
Okay, yeah. Right. So perhaps let me just share with you some of the surveys that Microsoft has conducted. Recently, we did a survey together with ASME, the Association of Small Medium Enterprise. And in that survey, you know, I think SMEs did highlight what are the top barriers that SME face, you know, particularly in this era, right? You know, in this pandemic, situation, many of them has gone into digital transformation. You know, so in their digital transformation journey, the top barriers that SME face include the highest, 56% said it was high cost, the cost of implementing digital transformation so as to support, you know, the hybrid work, right? I mean, we all know hybrid work is here to stay, is inevitable, right, given the situation. 40% of them said there's a lack of digitally skilled workforce, right? Many of them are called unprepared, you know, so there is a lack of technical skill sets, you know, to help them, you know, through this journey, right? The 35%, I mean, of course, the uncertainty, you know, economic environment, 35% quote that is one of the barrier. And another very interesting barrier, which many SMEs actually quoted, which is about 30% of them said, low awareness of government support. Yeah, so in my interaction with the SMEs, right, many of them actually said the same thing. They say that, you know, their lack of digitally skilled workforce. Yeah, so they saw a need to accelerate their skills competency. Yeah, so everyone was actually, you know, I saw that in many of the SMEs that I supported. Yeah, and many of them do not know what they do not know. They are not aware of the funding. They are not aware of the support that the Singapore government is giving them. So what the survey, you know, the findings from the survey is so true, because, you know, it shows that there's a low awareness of government support. And I would say that, you know, in this, you know, journey, they all need to look at the technical aspect, like what Andra said, right? You know, you need to train them technically, the junior ones, the new hires. You know, you need to train them in the technical aspect. You need also the soft skills. Technical skills is not enough. The soft skills aspect is also very important, especially with this remote work and now hybrid work. You know, people's expectations are different. And, you know, if we have time, you know, I'm happy to share with you another survey that Microsoft actually embarked, which is the Microsoft Work Trend Index. That survey actually, you know, is a study of 30,000 people in 31 countries. And that survey, you know, with it has participants from Singapore, about 1,002 participants from Singapore. there is another very interesting survey which shows us that hybrid work is inevitable. 82% of Singaporeans said that employees want flexibility, remote work options to stay, compared to global 73%. Yeah, and 66% said in Singapore, 66% in Singapore said they want more in-person work or collaboration post-pandemic versus globally 67%. 62% said that the leaders is considering redesigning the office space versus corporate. So here you can see very clearly that I think basically we need to train them both technically and need to prepare them in terms of the soft skills aspect.
Sure. Now Mark is already. Second, come on, Fabienne, please.
Yes, sorry, Manfred. I think that is very interesting, Cheng. And coming back to your question, Manfred, in my role as a Chief People Officer, I believe I also have quite some experience, totally different industry, software engineering. So it's not a topic of digital transformation, but sharing my principle here, I believe we should always treat our employees as adults, and as that, first ask them what they need. And secondly, or maybe on the same level, exactly what Andreas said, making sure that we cover the business needs. And then third, get help. We tend to be overwhelmed with the what and how we're doing things. But first of all, every company needs to figure out for themselves, for the people, what they need, because it's very, very diverse. I think there's not a one-fits-all solution. We are only having here people from different industries. There are common things, but then there's also a lot of diversity within the demand. So ask your people what they feel they need. That can be soft skills like mental resilience, or hard skills like just learning how to use the technology. But it might be very diverse, and we tend to oversee that. So I believe it's very important to ask, what is it that you need to do your job? What is it that we can support you with? And at the same time, asking the business, what do we need? What are the skills for now, for next year, for in 2 years?
Well, I imagine, Mark, you can sing a song about that, right? I mean, I know Fairprice. I mean, every second time I do my grocery shopping, I go Fairprice, Balestier Road, by the way. Never mind. Incredibly complex challenge and task for a company that, I mean, that includes managing levels, low-skilled workers, probably a lot of workers that came over from Malaysia as well. I mean, I imagine, which you have to replace now because most of them are no longer here, I guess. I mean, can you reveal give insight a little bit of your programs? How did you tackle that?
Yeah, so Manfred, good point. You brought it up for us in the retail side of the business, because it's all brick and mortar stores as a majority of how we conduct our businesses. That forms a big percentage of the business operational needs. And true enough, manpower is definitely a crunch now, because we can't get in foreign workers or from just next door across the causeway in Malaysia. So we rely quite a fair bit on how we can remain competitive to hire the right people, right resources that are still available in Singapore. That's one. The other bit is also how we change towards omni-channel type of a shopping experience for our customers. There's now, we see a very big difference in diverse groups coming in. There's still the traditional folks who like to come down to the grocery stores, do their touch and feel of what you need to look for and what you need to buy, or grab and go on your way back home after work, all during weekends with the children and the family. But where we could come from in terms of omni-channel, we also need to look at how digital could come in to support the shopping experience. It could be just ordering online. It could be just coming in, selecting what you need, and then pick it up, and then off you go. And little contact as possible in today's context. So there are getting diverse needs and requirements in the retail space. And it's something we have to constantly monitor, constantly look at to upskill the staff, upskill our frontline workers. What are the skill sets required as we start to shift and offer different experiences for all the customers and shoppers at our stores? That makes a big difference. And how we can get them to be upskilled or reskilled also is important, because that's something that will likely change going forward. It's not something that's going to be the same as what we're used to. So flexibility, being agile also has to come into place. The ways of working previously is no longer the same, and retail shopping experience is also going to change. A lot more online these days. You see the rest of our competitors also switching. That's going to be the norm, and that's probably here to stay.
Now, let me share an experience, a personal experience I had when I entered the workforce quite a few years ago. I joined a company which was called the Blue Army. And I still have the blue jacket, by the way. It's still fitting so narrowly, right? But it's called the Blue Army. Now, if I look at companies nowadays, they don't look at their sales force, they don't look at their people and employees as army anymore. At least they don't talk about it. They talk about the family. Is that right? Now, question, Cheng Lian. How at Microsoft, what's the philosophy? Do you consider that people, the Microsofters, I imagine you call them, is that an army or is that a family? And if you look at that kind of attitude, what does it mean for training programs?
Yeah.
How to keep them in the field, how you keep the soldiers in the field, or how to keep the family happy? What's the approach there?
Yeah. Well, in Microsoft, I think we recognize, we carry out a lot of studies, and, we got the insights, from the data. And we know that, that needs for us to have a new operating model. Yeah, so recently, I think the last 6 months or so, we have actually been using this, what I call the technology, a new technology platform, Viva, that empower employees. I think you're right. To us, employees is family, because, I think people are the key assets that Microsoft has, right? So I think this model actually cuts across, people, places, and processes. So in terms of people, we believe in empowering people, right? We empower managers to lead, equip them, with the decision-making, with decision-making authority. We equip them with tools and skills to lead in this transition. Yeah, so, and we encourage the managers to have conversation with their team, to develop team-specific or even organization-specific norms. Like, for example, no meeting every Friday. How nice. I mean, like what Fiamen was saying, right? The wellness, the mental wellness is so important, right? Given this, pandemic. So, you really need to create that culture with explicit norms to embrace flexibility. So as leaders, we need to accept that in the new world of work, digital employee experience is the employee experience. We believe in giving them a very good experience. Like let me cite an example. This morning when I got up, I think very often when we got up, what is the first thing we do? I go reach for my handphone. First thing is I go reach out for my handphone. Instead of turning to my husband to say good morning, I think the first thing I do is pick up my handphone, check.
Shame on you.
Shame on me, exactly. It's so bad. I think it's not the way to go. I'm not advocating this, but what I'm trying to say is that I felt a lot more relaxed when I saw that actually there's this like the experience platform, which reminded me that okay, on Tuesday you said to so and so you will get back to them by next week, or you get back to them by such a day. So it really, I felt that the stress has left me, because I don't have to worry. There's this platform that constantly remind me my tasks, the things I need to do. And it also, very interestingly, it tells me, all right, there is a D&I training going on, so they push to you the knowledge that you need, the learning that you need. Why they pushed that to me was because very recently, I was actually in conversation with one of the agency. So the agency said, oh, I cannot do this because D&I. So I was asking a question, what is D&I? So the agency said, okay, it's diversity and inclusivity. All right, I mean, they all use a lot of acronyms. So I just wanted to clarify. So because of that, there was, quite a fair bit of discussion around that D&I, and this platform just pushed the knowledge to me, knowing that, yes, perhaps you need this knowledge. Instead of me going out to seek the knowledge comes to me. So I think this is the kind of platform that employees enjoy. You have all the system integrated in one place. People is the central, is the central among all these systems that's being integrated, right? And so it's just so easy to collaborate, because I think collaboration is the next big thing that we are talking about here, right? You work remotely, you don't see your people, you don't feel, you don't know you can't sense them, but you still need to continue to collaborate, right? So that is actually another big thing. Yeah, so I would say that, the experience that we have, I think the culture, giving them the right tools, the technology, right, to help them, with the right skills, give them the places they need, which means the hybrid work, provide that, and also help them with the processes, using technology. Processes need to transform in this digital transformation.
Andreas, to keep the question short, Julius Baer, is it an army or is it a family or is it something in between?
Julius Baer has a family, a tradition to be a family-owned bank. And that is still part of our DNA. So we talk about really explicitly about the family, the Julius Baer family, and especially also here, Asia is about 25% of the global workforce, but still smaller than head office. So we still have this glue that I think is very important, this family spirit. And if I may add, of course, also our clients, many of our clients are families. And especially then during pandemic, family governance, wealth transfer, taking care of your family was a very important topic in view of the threat, which was and still is out there, right? So actually, one of the top 3 courses of our JD Academy, the most subscribed to this year, was actually about family governance, wealth management, wealth planning, that relationship managers subscribe to basically be equipped to help our clients on these dimensions.
All right, Mark, back to you. Fairprice, is it a family or is it an army? And would it change anything? Or is the small unit considered as a family and the big company is considered as an army that has to make profits? How does that work? And how does it influence your programs, the training programs?
Yeah, I think for us here, definitely it's family, and how we spell it is Fairmily. So in Fairprice, that's a family. How we look at that is because we see the number of long service staff that we have with us. So they rose up through the ranks, they join us for many years in the company, the organization. That's a very familiar brand with almost every household and everyone in Singapore. Sure. So it's something that connects with your heart very much and connects with your family time, connects with your social life. We are part of everybody's life to a certain extent. So definitely the family part is where we would like to be. And how we would like to also focus our efforts in terms of developing our workers and the employees, because there's a sense of affinity that everyone has with the organization, with the brand. They stay long here, they enjoy working in their own little families at the stores, at the locations, at the shops. That forms quite a good bond within the workforce. And when we talk about development, we try to upskill them as they rise through the ranks. So they come in as frontline, and then they eventually end up as team leaders, eventually end up as branch managers, area managers. That really helps develop the pipeline for the organization. Definitely, we still need to look at bottom lines and profitability. But still, it's the social mission for us that we have to include that for all Singaporeans, to be able to have that affordability, to get their basic needs for everybody within Singapore. So yes, definitely, that's something that we live and breathe every day.
Okay, I try to believe that, and that was, by the way, always my impression, particularly in the smaller units, in the smaller outlets. Fabienne, anything to add from your side to that, to maybe to sharpen the answers a little bit, or should we already have a look at our audience and seek out for questions? What's your advice?
I'm fine. I think it was very interesting what was shared, but I'm curious to hear what the audience is looking for answers, if there's anything we can help with. So let's see what comes.
Okay, let's have a look at maybe the audience. Clarissa, can you share with us a few questions probably? Otherwise, I give back the ball to our panelists.
Thanks, Manfred. At the moment, there are no questions, but maybe they will come.
Maybe if we should encourage the audience to.
Yes, so please send your questions on the Q&A session, and the panelists will be happy to answer. Thank you.
Now, in the meantime, just to bridge the gap, or to let the audience formulate the questions, coming back to you, Mark, I mean, you said family, sure. I mean, of course, it sounds great, right? And I give you the benefit of a doubt, right? With the family thing. But question, COVID-19, I mean, doesn't it make it more difficult to treat the whole group as a family and develop plans, you know, upgrade skills? Or is that just a continuity compared to the past? Or can you give us an example, you know, how? What have you done particularly? Please keep the answer short, because we have already questions from Realiner. Never mind, but the floor is yours, Mark.
Sure, thanks, Manfred. I think COVID wouldn't impact the family setting or the family work environment, because for us in retail space, actually it was a very busy period when COVID hit. We were scrambling to make sure that the shelves were not empty. Everyone that comes through the stalls would be able to grab what they need and not have panic buying. So those were the challenges, and I think that further strengthened the family bond within the workforce, within the employees on the grounds. Yes, it was trying times, it was difficult, but it's something that we all stuck together to make sure that we still kept our social mission in place and make sure that we had enough supplies for everyone who needs it. So it strengthened rather than shake.
Thanks. We have a big spoiler question in here. I think it's from Rhea. I read it loud out, right? And it's really challenging. How do you think the Great Resignation, and I assume that everybody knows what the Great Resignation means, is connected to skills training and personal and professional development opportunities in your company? I mean, there is this phenomenon of the Great Resignation. You know, it might be a COVID-19 thing. It might be related to the structure of the employees. How does that go along? The Great Resignation, that so many people are actually quitting companies. Is that something that, Cheng Lian, in your company you have witnessed, and are you faced with it? How do you deal?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I think we are not surprised that, you know, there's Great Resignation. In fact, you know, just to cite the survey that we did, the work trend survey, it shows that 49% of Singapore people will resign to leave their current employee by end of this year. So this
49.
49.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Yes, a lot. Yeah. So and we are talking about particularly the Gen Z, the Gen Z. Yeah.
Sure.
So and this is actually, you know, is 18% higher than global, and is you know, it's actually reason why, because I think many of the, again, this is just summarizing the findings, right? Basically, I think the workforce felt that they are, although yes, you look at the productivity level is high, but it is actually at a human cost. They are all exhausted, you know, they're exhausted, and you know, they felt that the employers are not taking care of them. You know, they don't have work-life balance. Yeah, so you know, which is, I'm also a very bad example, right? Like the example I gave, the first thing I did wake up is I look at my work, because of the, you know, the demand, you know, the work demand, right? So I think is, you know, basically what is important is that we need to look at new operating model. Like I mentioned earlier, we need to have a more operating model with people at the center. Looking after people is very important, giving them the experience, right? Which many of the leaders are not aware that they need to provide the experience to, you know, to their people. Learning is one of them. Yeah, you need, not just learn. You know, they need also the tools, the processes. The processes need to be automated. They need the right workspace, the right environment, right, in order to collaborate with each other, in order to work in this hybrid environment. Yeah.
Okay, Andreas.
Yeah, maybe I can share a very specific recommendation, which actually was just published by our global head of human resources a while ago, to help our staff and also the team leads, but the teams, to cope with this new demand and the risk of you know, basically resigning or being burned out or whatever you want to call it, right? And he had a very simple recommendation that I would like to share. He said he would recommend the teams to set up a team charter and to define some simple rules of the road. Let's say, for instance, in this flexible working model, do we have a fixed day where everybody comes to the office, that we meet everybody together? I think we heard before about the social interaction, which is important, that we can reconnect. Do we have some rules about not answering emails after certain cutoff times, not answering emails over the weekend? Are there any time slots where certain team members cannot be available? To provide a framework to move away from this 24/7 availability and eventual burnout, and this model of 24/7 availability is not available, is not sustainable, as we all know, right? So really write this down, very simple, a few bullet points that everybody then knows. Andreas doesn't answer emails over the weekend, or you know, Fabienne is not available between 7 and 9 p.m., but she's somebody who then works after 9 p.m. again for 1 hour. You know, that we know the styles and the working models of the individuals.
All right. Anything to add, Mark? Otherwise, we would go on to the next question. What would be key skills that employees need to possess to thrive in the new normal? Okay. I think we have covered quite a bit of that. The question that I'm asking myself, what is the new normal in the first place? I mean, that we are all exhausted because we work 24 hours, 7 days? So is that the new normal? Or is the new normal just a hybrid thing where we all take care of each other as a family? Jiang Lian, what do you think? Is there something like a new normal do you see a clear new normal, and do you see in that new normal a clear shift when it comes to requirement? What does an employee need in order to survive and progress in the new normal?
All right. I think what the employee needs is actually they need to survive in this hybrid workplace. Yeah. So if I were to just, you know, again, I think we've got a lot of findings, which I also, you know, be happy to share very quickly, that in this digital transformation, 80% of SMEs have adopted digital transformation, right? So that technology is in, people needs to know how to use the technology. Yeah, and it was cited that actually 5 benefits of this digital transformation is: 1, optimize operations; 2, empower employee, right? Empower employee. 3, engage customer; 4, transform products; and 5, facilitate internationalization. These are the top 5 most important benefits that SME cited that digital transformation has brought to them, in this during this period of time. So I would say that empowering them, to work in this new norm, right, is key. And I think to talk about that, one of the skill sets, we all talk about the technical aspect, we talk about the soft skills aspect. The soft skills aspect is the well-being and stuff like that. So the other aspect, which is actually very close, which is practically needed for most organizations, will be the security. I think the security aspect is something that I would say that skills is actually very important. People need to be aware of cybersecurity. Yeah, so because cyber criminals work in different ways all the time to steal data, right? To steal information. Yeah, so I would say that a new norm is they have to learn differently, they have to adopt technology, they have to live in this hybrid work.
All right. Mark, is there anything like a big resignation or in your company? I mean, it would contradict a little bit what you said before. And if there is that a sign that big companies or companies have failed? If there is a phenomenon like big resignation?
Yeah, I think how that is impacting us, or how COVID has changed the mindset of the workforce and employees, is that you no longer need to be in a particular place to do a job. I think that's pretty clear. And you still be able to function, you still be able to contribute, you still be able to be productive in the current hybrid models of working. And that's really thrown out a whole new dimension of what we can look for in the workforce, how as leaders we can support with the right technology, with the right hardware, with the right software as well, because it takes quite a fair bit to balance the new norm going forward. And the new norm, Manfred, good question. What is that new norm for all of us? We may not have a complete answer, but we're getting clarity. We're trying to ask, and what Fabian also mentioned, to ask your employees, what do they really need and what do they want? It's becoming a bit more important than what we're used to, because these are really changing the game, changing the approach, how we work. What does productivity mean going forward? It's no longer a measurement of you being able to have outputs. It's really how you manage your time, how you are able to balance between work as well as your own personal time, but still get the job done wherever you are. It could be in office, it could be once a week, twice a week, it could be home, it could be from outside, it could be even from Starbucks. All this will be the new ways of how we work. And I think workforce employees are starting to have that mindset that, hey, I can have options now, versus previously in traditional setups of how we're used to. Yeah.
Thank you. Clarissa, do you have the questions in front of you? I see a lot of text as well. Interesting points, interesting comments. Clarissa, would you pick, which question would you like to pick out?
Thanks, Manfred. So there is one of the questions is from Christopher Lim. And for those who say family, it is a management perception, or that is exactly what the employees also feel and agree? Does your organization perform anonymous feedback from employees to check if your view is correct? Thanks. So the last question in the chat.
Okay, so the question is, there are two questions, two question marks actually. Do your organization perform anonymous feedback for employees to check if the view is correct? Okay.
Maybe I can jump in here, Manfred. I believe the
Yes.
question is for Mark, like really, are you asking or not? I would like to make two comments here, as we discussed being military or being army or being family. I think it always depends on how you self see what a family is, and that's from the management as well as from the employee. My personal opinion here is, whatever environment I'm in, I'm never in a family. It's a company, because family I can't choose, but I can choose my employer. So that's the big difference. And that's also leading to the question of big resignation. Haven't we all felt over the past 18 months overwhelmed by not being in control of our life and our decisions anymore? And has that maybe this year led to more resignations? Because that is the one thing you actually can change. Within Singapore, people are start to move around just to have a change in their life. So that might also be one thing to consider. So I do not necessarily believe it's always something a company can do or can't do. It's also just we're all human beings.
Interesting point, Fabienne. You can't choose the family, but you can choose the employer. What does that mean? Does that mean that all the family, let's say, wording and PR texts, is that sort of family washing, like a greenwashing? Or wouldn't you go that far?
Not at all. I think it's a culture.
The question goes on to Andreas, because how many employees you have at Julius Baer?
6,700 globally.
6,700, big family.
In like 25 countries. As I said, 25% of that in Asia.
I wanted to explain that family later. Fabienne, I interrupted you. No? Are you done? Are you done, Fabienne?
No, please, Andreas, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think specifically to the question, and I guess that's true for all the three organizations here. I'm sure, we do our employee engagement surveys to have data, and I think they have proven to be very important during the times of COVID to have more data in terms of, data points and see trends. And the most important aspect is actually the feedback, the comment section, where you get feedback on certain aspects on these questions. In full disclosure, we don't have a question about whether we have a family culture or not, but of course there are questions whether the staff feels that the culture that we describe with core values that we call care, passion, excellence, is lived to, and they can rate it. So yes, there is a lot of feedback, and we do this every 2 months, which some of our colleagues think is too often. But for me as a manager, it's very helpful that I get a feedback every 2 months through this tool.
Sure. So is the great resignation, is it part of the new normal, or will it just fade away? Like we hope that COVID-19 will fade away. Or is the great resignation here to stay, that people stay for 2 or 3 years, no longer in a company? What do you think, Zhang Lian? You were able, I'm sure you have done a survey on this.
I think, it's hard to, I wish I have a crystal ball to see whether next year, we're going to see the same percentage, as this year. But I would say that, this is actually very much driven by what's happening, the pandemic. Yeah, so I think with the post-pandemic, I think if we prepare now for post-pandemic, I'm sure we can actually bring that numbers down.
Okay. All right, I see another question down here. Is that right, Clarissa?
I think we are already overrunning, Manfred.
Yeah.
Are we already? Okay then.
Yes.
So does that mean, what's the summary then? All right. I make a quick round. I start with Mark. 2-3 sentence could you summarize what's your advice for a small and medium company, rather a small company, let's say, to overcome the challenges when it comes to training programs? Where should they start? If they haven't started yet, where should they start? Where should they focus? Should they create a family or environment? Or what's your recipe?
Yeah, I think if you're starting out and exploring what kind of a training or interventions, development programs for your staff, employees, it would probably be a mix of mindfulness, mental well-being. That's one area to look at. And then that's on the softer aspects. The harder aspects would be what kind of new skill sets may be required for them to perform and do their jobs and their roles, as where the company's strategy directions may change. Example for us here in Fairprice, we're moving towards omni-channels. So that means a lot more digital skill sets required, a lot more online savviness is also required. So those are areas that we will probably be looking at. So a bit of a balance between two.
Andreas, your 5 cents.
I think I come back to my initial statement. It starts with a needs analysis. What does the business need? What type of skills do you need today? How do you support the staff to be ready for the future? And there we shouldn't forget, I mean, knowledge and information is outdated so fast. So I think it's also important to think about how can we instill an element of learning agility, or that staff also takes responsibility to, stay on top of things. And I think in Singapore, we have a fantastic environment with Skills Future, where there are so many offerings out there where staff can also go out independently to take advantage of these. And then specifically, it would really be in terms of what we discussed in the last hour about how to cope with the new normal, to design some programs around this, flexible working, virtual team meetings, virtual interactions with clients, and so on, but also on the leadership side, the same, how do I engage my team in a virtual mode? How do I feel the pulse and elements like these, which have proven for us to be very effective?
Great. So Fabienne, will COVID-19 play a role in the next skills award that we are going to carve out, right? I think it's the 5th or even 6th edition. And are there new criteria? Can you elaborate on that quickly?
Very quickly, yes and no. We are always asking for a presentation what the company is doing, and their criteria is like, is it comprehensive? We're not just looking for leadership programs, but does a company, employer, head of a family, or whatever you call it, are they having a comprehensive outlook for the programs, etc.? So, and this is always in the current situation. So obviously we are looking for what happened in the past year. Good. So it will have an impact, but it depends on the company. But of course it is about, are you up to date? Are you really taking care of your employees now and make sure there's employability for all the people?
So final question, thank you very much, Fabienne. Final question goes to Chen-Lien. What was your, let's say, biggest positive surprise when you look back the last 18 months of challenges? If you look at the employees, what has given you, reason to be optimistic that the people can overcome that challenge within your company?
Yeah, actually, well, I have actually supported a number of SMEs, and I've seen positive, outcome. Yeah, so and I think the positive outcome is because they were able to identify where the gaps are, what sort of needs, they know the direction they are moving, and they know what is needed, for them to move ahead. So I think to me, the strategies for the way forward is probably to, I think like what Andreas has said, it's important to identify the skills analysis, identify what skills is needed for your business growth, future business growth. And you need to make people the center of everything. you need to create a plan to empower people for extreme flexibility, and invest in space, invest in technology to bridge the physical and the digital world. And you need to combat the digital exhaustion from the top. We are all exhausted, right? Digital exhaustion. So rethink your employee experience to compete for the best and the most diverse talent. That's what I would say. Yeah, and this will actually is a recipe for success.
Okay. Now let me add that 5 or 6 years back, when we launched the award, the Skills and Development Award, we would never have imagined, of course, that we would end up in a situation like we are today. Nevertheless, I think Fabian mentioned it. It is an ongoing challenge in a different kind of setting now, but investment into the people, into the skills and their development, I think is crucial. And that is why we make another seminar on this topic. Is that right? I think we have it on is it the 5th of November? I think it's on the 5th of November where we have, no, the 17th of November, actually, sorry, Wednesday, the 17th of November, we have the 3rd edition of this panel of this topic, how to implement people and skills development strategies. Now, thank you very much for all of you panelists to share your insights, to share your knowledge. That has been new to all of us, has been challenging the last couple of months, we know that. And a special thank as well to all the audience to join us for these interesting hours. And I'm currently based in Switzerland. My regards, best regards over to Singapore, where most of our audience is. And I wish you really a wonderful time. And I hope you have the courage to go on and the stamina to go through this crisis. And then hopefully on the 17th of November, we will see the so-called bright light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you very much for joining.